So my name is Jesse Kachapis. I'm an SC at Druva, and I'm going to give an overview of the Phoenix solution, which is our data protection solution for infrastructure, for servers. So, again, I'm not going to beat this, but you know the kind of the legacy infrastructure of backup. Lots of moving parts and lots of different systems. So, so what is Phoenix, right? So everything we just talked about with InSync, Phoenix is for infrastructure. So it's for physical servers, virtual infrastructure. We integrate with Hyper-V and VMware today, and then guest level cloud workloads, right? We don't really care where the data lives, right? As long as you can install our agent on something, we can back it up. So going into the cloud here, right? Everything you'd expect from a cloud or data protection solution, right? So again, cloud native backup as a service, but next gen technology is completely built in, right? No, turnkey, no configuration from the customer standpoint, global source side dedupe, and ever incremental backup with block level, doing block level duplication. Infinite scale with an SLA, right? Just zero management infrastructure. Most of our customers don't have any hardware at all, right? If they want it, they can do cloud cache, but most again are leveraging us as that zero infrastructure. Instant on global footprint, right? We mentioned this is actually 13 regions now in GovCloud, but that means that if the customer, when they sign up with us, if they want these regions, we just activate them for later on. This has happened. The customer comes back, said, hey, we're acquiring an office, and wherever, can we spin up that region? We just simply activate in the account. They have it now. They can start leveraging it.
What's your intention to go further on the virtual infrastructure? So, things like HCI solutions like Nutanix or something like that?
Take that one.
Very much, right? So today we have support for the major hypervisors, VMware Hyper-V, and we're working towards support for Nutanix as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
That support for VMware and Hyper-V is that agentless backup of the VMs?
Correct.
That is correct.
You only have to deploy an agent on the physical servers.
Exactly.
Or something that's running like SQL Server
Yeah.
where you need application consistent backup.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So VMware, it's a proxy. Download a proxy, deploy it. We do proxy pooling, and you can just deploy it. We're using all the APIs within VMware to do the backup there. On Hyper-V, it's our Windows agent, has the integration with the host, and then so you activate it as a Hyper-V host, and then we can do VM level backup.
Who's managing the versioning of the agent and upgrades?
It's automatically done from the cloud by us.
Okay.
So it's pure SaaS experience.
So I'll show you in the demo when we get to it. If we release a new agent, we put the release notes on it, we alert it into our console, and we'll say new feature, functionality, and if it requires an upgrade, when you actually want to upgrade, you just select the machines, hit upgrade, we'll push it down, incrementally update the app, no reboots, none of that.
Okay, so you're client's still controlling the upgrade, but it's
Yeah,
require them to do a whole lot of work.
They just have to say upgrade, and we do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically to accommodate some of the change management processes in companies, right? Because sometimes they don't like it if you just go
I
and
don't want us to push it unless they say it's okay.
That proxy for the VMware PC, is that doing any dedupe compression or anything? You're offloading a little bit of that before it then sends it because you've got a footprint in the PC.
Yeah. I mean, so one, we're leveraging change block tracking right there, and then we're doing everything we do is source side global dedupe. So we're mounting that VMDK. We're using CBT, and then we're comparing those blocks against the cloud and only sending those unique blocks of data. So source side dedupe is across the board on everything we do. So on the VMware side, it's no different.
So it's still a snapshot.
Still snapshot-based mount backup.
Still have the stunned VM potential issue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But then if you have like a SQL box, right, you could install the agent on it as well, and I'll get into that. But we have a SQL agent that can do transaction log backups down every 5 minutes as well.
Sure.
And are you doing source side encryption as well on those pieces?
So the way that that goes in kind of our whole security model, but so we use TLS tunneling for the transmission of the data, and then the data is written to disk, 256 AES encryption. All right, so we're transmitting the blocks securely, and then we're storing them encrypted. Right. And again, all that's managed automatically in the solution, right? They don't have to worry about it. And then all the keys, again, we use envelope encryption. So all the keys are managed, it's all session-based encryption, and it's all managed through the customer's credential, right, to get into their account. So again, if they wanted to put a cloud cache there, they can. This is a commodity piece of hardware. We're just a software company. They would procure their own hardware. But we're talking Windows 2012, R2, with enough disk in it to store the backups they want to send to it. Everything on this is going to be deduped and compressed as well. And then, we have some, recommendations from, from an IOPS standpoint, but I think the max IOPS we're looking at is like 500 at this point. So you can really leverage some commodity disk.
So the core difference between this and a normal appliance is that if the normal appliance goes down, a cloud goes down. There's no independent direct to cloud approach there. In this case, if the appliance goes down, the cloud is the master copy. The metadata always goes to cloud. And then the cache is a local object cache. If it goes down, it goes down. You rebuild it quickly, or you just destroy it, or you directly go to cloud for backup and restores.
Another really important thing to mention is that this is not an extra cost. This
Correct.
is all included in the
built
monthly.
licensing. Yeah. So the customer would pay for their own hardware. That's the only cost. But like Jasper said, that's why we keep cache in the name, because it's just a cache, right? It is designed to go away whenever something really bad happens. All that data is still in the cloud, and you can schedule everything independent. So you can say, I want my backups to run here, and then I want this sync to occur here. Everything here again is going to be deduped against everything sent to it, and then on its way up here, it's going to dedupe itself against everything in the cloud.
Do you guys have stats on how much cloud cache saves customers from a cost perspective for egress, not having to have to pull data from, well, you guys don't charge for egress.
Yeah.
So I guess that's I answered that question for you.
100%.
So I think
So from a customer perspective, all they care about is speed to restore. This becomes a faster restore.
It's an RTO thing, right? So the easiest way I say it is you got a terabyte virtual machine, you got a 10 megabit link at our site. You can do the math of how long a restore of a terabyte would take you. If it's too long, put a cloud cache. And you don't have to send everything there, right? You can just say, for these data sets, I want cloud cache. The rest can go to the cloud.
And I might have missed it. Can you schedule when that then syncs back?
Yes.
So your internet pipe during the day, you don't want to swamp
Yeah.
with that traffic.
Yeah, so you could run
Do it
backups
overnight.
anytime here and then say sync this at 2 a.m. And again, it's a block level sync, right? So it's just syncing up whatever isn't up here yet. Globally, too, within the customer's account. So again, because it comes up in the past, this is deduping against everything sent to it, and then when it gets up, but before it's sent here, it's deduped against everything up here.
So what gets really complex, I don't know if you guys have any white papers, or because I think it's too broad of a conversation for here, but what happens if a customer has direct connects from their on-premises solutions into AWS? Mm-hmm. I would then get egress cost if I'm pulling data from AWS period over my direct connect. Do you guys have any white papers on that?
Yeah, so, I mean, I guess it's a usage, right? Because they're going to,
Right.
yeah. No, we don't. I don't think we have any white papers on it, but it's an interesting topic, though. Yeah. I mean, the thought process, I mean, from our standpoint, is that if the customer has invested in the direct connect, they're going to utilize it in some way. We're going to reduce the amount of data that needs.
Yeah, and that's the reduction I'm looking at.
But the restore side, you're right. If it's
Because if I have a 10 gig connection to AWS, I'm going to use my 10 gig connection to AWS.
It's $2,500 for 10 gig pipe per month. So this can, I mean, the cost concern really comes up. The concern which comes up is how do I securely connect my direct connect to your tenant? That's why we use the VPC endpoints and now the new private link to make sure we can use the customer's direct connect to connect into our tenant.
Right. That's really, it's super effective once you get it. Getting there is hard.
That's
so,
right.
yeah.
And also there's this new paradigm called fast S3 or cloud fronts. So we also integrate with those. So if you have any of
So
those,
if I have a cloud hoteler, you guys integrate with the cloud hotelers
yes,
as well.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So that's why I think this is where native to AWS makes a lot more sense, because they're investing into security, tunneling, bandwidth, all into a cloud provider. And the more natively integrate, right, the better off the customer experience would be.
Just a question to clarify some of the syncing stuff. So it can be done on a schedule, so the sync back.
Yep.
Is it, can I throttle it and have it run all the time, but never go more than this? So never take up the entire pipe, but always try to keep things as close to sync to the cloud as I possibly can.
See, the reason we schedule is because network guys don't want to talk to the backup guys.
Right.
But all this can be done with network guys, right? They can always schedule, throttle the port or the shape of the traffic.
Okay.
So
I can be syncing the whole time, but I can just, as a network throttle, just do it that way.
So we give the signatures and port information and all those things. We publish all our IPs.
Yep.
So networking guys can always do it through DMZ or not through DMZ or whatever. the way they've configured outward traffic.
But you can't throttle it on the cloud cache yourself.
So we do certain features we can throttle, we can slow down, you can do scheduling, you can do certain features. But then the more advanced stuff, we publish guides for the networking guys to do port management.
Yeah, I mean, it presumes your networking guys can do that.
Yeah.
So we have bandwidth throttling in our policy, but it's by that policy, right? So again, it's some customers will use ours, right? Remote site, it's probably a lot easier, but at a larger site, they'll use QoS, the firewall, right? It's just easier for them to control it. So, but we do have bandwidth throttling built in.
Yes, I have a question. In perspective of hybrid infrastructure or multi-cloud infrastructure, you say that you can supervise Hyper-V. Is that also Hyper-V through Azure Stack?
No, it's so everything in the cloud is still guest level backup.
Okay, so it's neither is Hyper-V in the Azure version because it's not the same version.
It's not the same version. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we'll get.
I guess you were talking about a window agent, so
yeah,
it's not
we're talking guest level backup of those workloads.
Okay.
Right, so you can install our guest anywhere, right?
So it's only on-premise Windows servers.
So traditional application stacks going to cloud is Phoenix backup. The modern net new hypervisors or apps like the new Hyper-V or S3 is Apollo. So where backup may not be the ideal outcome, you may want to do snapshot management or data management. So that's how we have separated products. Phoenix will focus on traditional apps going to cloud where backup is needed, and the new modern apps being built, which backup may or may not be needed, is Apollo.
And Apollo is able to back up the Azure Stack.
So we don't support Azure Stack today. We're starting with AWS, but the idea is exactly what you're talking about, that if there's new kind of hypervisors, new kind of application, which you may not have access to the core hypervisor or the core application stack, how do you still provide the same data management guarantees?
Yes, but earlier I was asking about Azure as a cloud public cloud, but Azure Stack is on-premise Azure version, and the Hyper-V in Azure Stack is not the same version in Hyper-V in Cloud Public.
Sorry, I misunderstood the question. Yeah, we don't support that. Right.
The problem with Azure Stack is you don't have access to the hypervisor as the person using it.
Yeah.
Only Microsoft and the OEM
do.
do.
But you have access to the agent.
Yeah.
The VM agent.
Yeah, you treat it like Azure, so you would back up how you back up Azure is how you back that up.
Not about the Hyper-V, you know.
Right. I mean, it would be great
That's
to
why I
leverage
was a little
APIs of
confused.
the VM agent to do the backup as opposed to installing another agent in there.
But presumably you tick that box in Azure, and then that means you can do the same thing against Azure Stack.
Yes.
So any VM anywhere, Azure Stack, wherever, or GCP or wherever. If it's a VM and it's a host, we can put an agent, we can back it up. We just don't have the same level of support we do as, say, for Hyper-V or VMware.
Okay.
Right. So.
Thanks.
And just, again, from a policy engine, everything is fully customized by the customer, right? They define, scheduling, retention, all that is managed by them, right? So they get to easy recovery, any location, and then I mentioned before, but the VMware, the ability to take the VM backups and put them into a VPC and convert them over to AMIs. So for platform support, this is where we stand today. VMware Hyper-V, VMC. So we are the only SaaS backup solution in VMC today, right? So it's the same exact experience, whether it's an on-premises VMware environment or in VMC.
Where would you deploy the proxy for VMC?
Deployed in VMC, so we're fully certified to run up there.
So that would be a virtual on top of.
So when you actually deploy our proxy, you get on-site or VMC. You choose VMC. And so we're vSAN certified and all that stuff. So we had to go through this whole process to be able to do this. So I think there's only 3 solutions now in VMC.
3, that's right.
And so we're one of those 3, but we're only SaaS one.
Actually, just in addition to that, since there was a question on Nutanix as well, we're also Nutanix certified for VMware and Hyper-V workloads, right? So the AHV support is what we're working towards.
Yeah, because VMware on Nutanix, you're going to back up the same way as VMware or anything else.
So we just fit in right there.
Yeah. So, vCenter and SCVMM integration, right? So we integrate with the management kind of layer up there and then discover all the virtual machines, and then you choose the ones you want to back up. So everything's agentless, auto discovery. From a recovery standpoint, we can do full disk, full VM file level recovery, right? Native, no additional resources being used on the customer side. We handle this on the back end, but makes it really easy. And then the cloud DR piece. We just went through this with the cloud VMs again. Wherever that system exists, we don't care, right? I mean, you can install our agent on it, you can back it up. We have, for physical servers, the Linux and Windows supported, so Red Hat, CentOS, and Ubuntu, and then Windows 8 and above. We have a SQL agent that's built into the Windows agent, so if you install the Windows agent onto a SQL box, it just sees that SQL is running and enables the SQL client. And then you can do full backups, differential backups and transaction log backups. We're going to still globally dedupe all the data as part of the backup process, so everything's really an incremental forever for us. It's really how the SQL, how SQL understands it, but it allows you to do that point-in-time recovery down to 5 minutes if you want to. Oracle is on our roadmap right now. Customers just back up our man dumps with us, right? We'll sweep those off a file system. But we are working on an integration, tighter integration with Oracle. And then on the NAS side, what we've done is we've completely went away from NDMP and we're doing a file-based scanning. So if you couple our technology, again, ever incremental with global source side dedupe, we've created what we call our NAS proxy. So you can take a Windows or a Linux machine, install our NAS agent on it, and then mount the UNC path and back up the data remotely. Again, since we're doing the global dedupe source side, we're never going to transmit the same data twice. So this allows you to scale out those proxies to kind of meet your requirement. So it's really kind of a low-cost way of doing it. But the idea is that it can overlap hands. It doesn't matter. We're never going to have to take the data that we've already taken. Then we built in the Smart Scan technology. And what Smart Scan is it's just an option. This is true for file servers as well. But what Smart Scan allows you to do, it's a metadata-based scanning. It's age-based currently. So what you can do is you can say, and this is usually reserved for large file systems, right? We're talking dozens of terabytes of data. But the ability is you can say on a nightly basis, so what we do is we'll do a full backup of all the data. And if you can set a setting that says, mark data on our end that hasn't been modified or created in 3, 6, 12, or 24 months. And then on the incremental scan, skip that data. So you can say, if I'm backing up 40 terabytes of file system data, get it all done on a nightly basis, just scan the data that isn't stale, right? So it hasn't been, you can say 24 months. So we'll just on a nightly basis, skip that stuff that hasn't been modified in 24 months and just focus on any new data that's out there. And then on a weekly basis, you could say, do the full scan, because that might take hours, right? So you want to let it go. But it's completely optional, right? So we have a lot of customers that are leveraging it now, and they've gone from 18-hour nightly scans down to 10 minutes. So it's just a if you're comfortable with that option, it's something you can enable and leverage really easily. Demo and VMC.
Yeah. Okay. VMC. Well, yeah. So we full VMC support.
Yeah.
There. Now jump to the demo. While he's looking up the demo, I just wanted to. Yeah, I'm on, right? So as I mentioned, when I first came here, I was like not very cloud friendly, and I can watch some of the tweets, and not everybody's that thrilled about, hey, do we send the data up to cloud? Not everything's going to work for our model. If you got 50 petabytes in one data center, this isn't going to work. But if you're hundreds of terabytes in a data center, or you're hundreds of terabytes spread out across 20 data centers, the question is, why do you want all that infrastructure that you have to pay for and manage? Why not do it this way if it works for you? Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is the Phoenix console, so sort of similar to the InSync console. What we're doing here at Druva is we've announced it, but the Druva One platform. What we're doing is we're combining all this, right? So there's going to be a single global UI you log into, and then you choose your application and kind of drill down. So InSync will be there, Phoenix and everything else. Just today they're separate. But this is again a bird's eye view into the entire environment. Again, this is at a global footprint, so you can see it from the storage region standpoint here. I have all the gray ones are all the available ones, right? They're just not activated in my account. All the green ones are activated, and then the numbers corresponding with what's actually being backed up in those regions. On the licensing and storage standpoint, what we do is, we give you some nice numbers from a dedupe savings and everything else, right? And we want to show you, how efficient the system is being. And if we drill down a little bit more, what you see here is our storage usage. So what the green line is, actually we'll start at the top or the middle. The orange line here is the current source data under protection, right? So we're currently backing up 12.12. There's a lot of solutions that do capacity-based licensing, right? That's the number that they would charge you for from a software standpoint. How much source data do you want to back up? And then the 14.62 is the source plus all the incrementals that are being retained. So this number is direct relation to whatever retention policy you've put on data, right? So source and then the incrementals out to that. The 2.99 terabytes, that's what we're actually storing, and that's billable, right? So we don't care about how many agents you have, how many proxies you have, or how much source data you have. It's all about that green line, right? How much data you're storing post-global dedupe, and that's it. And then from a licensing standpoint, it's all credit-based. So you purchase capacity, we convert it to credits, and then you use it against those credits on a daily, monthly basis. So you can see I'm just consuming my credits, and the number is going down. If I just highlight it, I'm at 27 credits, but I'm only consuming 2 credits a month, right? It will last a long time. But you got a complete view into where you are from a capacity and licensing standpoint.
Presumably, it's not something you like to do, but there is some grace on credits. So it's not like I cross that line and you go, hey, I've just...
We never turn you off, yeah. But we will come knocking, yeah. It's, and, I mean, generally, what we're doing here, as from an account management standpoint, right? And I mean, from an SC standpoint, I'm looking in our reporting tools and seeing all this licensing, and we're giving our customers, calls. Hey, listen, do you guys want to talk, right? Because you're going to be run out in 6 months. Let's start the conversation now. And to us, discounting is based on the volume you purchase, right? So, generally, if we're saying, hey, you want to look at this from a 2-year, 3-year perspective, you can buy a lot up front. We'll give you a better discount on it, and you're going to use it. And the cool thing about this as well is that the credits don't expire, right? So if you overbought this year, it just rolls over to next year. So you can't overbuy anything, right? There's no shelfware. So say we say you're going to consume 50 terabytes of credits this year, but you only consume 40, 10 just roll over to next year. So next year you only got to buy whatever you need for the next year.
Is there any reason for the credits model rather than just billing people for what they're using?
We're just billing for what they use.
But you're not just billing for, hey, you've got 10 terabytes, I'm going to charge you this amount.
We
have to buy a load of, because the traditional cloud model is I just pay for what I consume. I don't buy a thing to then buy that thing.
So,
if I can take it, right? So, so the way to think about it is, yes, you're right. So I think it's just pay for what you use. Credits is more of a pre-purchase for a better discount.
A reserved
That's the way to
kind
think
of model.
about it.
So you've got the two
That's all
models
it
in a
is.
way. So, okay.
Yeah.
Even
And
by
in fact,
marketplace, right?
exactly. So we have this product even in the AWS marketplace, and that's how people buy. It's just pay as you use.
Cool. And so what I'm going to do is just drill down into the actual kind of nuts and bolts of it, right? So from a VMware standpoint, like I mentioned earlier, you deploy a proxy, you register it against vCenter, and then we auto-discover all the VMs. You can do standalone ESXi if you wanted to as well. But so .56 is my vCenter server. And this is in my lab. These are all the VMs that are in that environment. I have two hosts, the 150 and .50, and you can see which VMs are actually being backed up. If I needed to back up a new one, all I got to do is select it, configure server backup, give it a backup policy. Right? Pretty straightforward. Once the VMs are backed up, let's go to this guy. So this is just a virtual machine that's being backed up. We get a little dashboard for the VM itself, telling me how much source data I have, which policies it's using, which proxy it's using, and so on. Everyone okay? So kind of the recovery side of it. So what we do from a recovery standpoint is we present everything in what we call a time index snapshot. Right? So according to whatever attention you're using, it's going to show up on the left-hand side as a snapshot. So I can scroll back in time and see all my data. I had mentioned earlier, everything over 90 days goes to cold. That shows you there. Right? So anything from here, I can instantly recover. On the cold side, if I click on it, there's a defreeze snapshot. And that's where that 4-hour SLA is for us to defreeze. Again, this is 91 plus days old. Right? And if we had a cloud cache in the environment, there'd be a section called hot. Anything on a cloud cache is considered hot. So we'd have hot, warm, and cold. From a recovery standpoint, again, I can just pick and choose which vert snapshot I want to restore from. I can do a disk restore, full VM restore, and a file level restore. I can redirect any of these restores as well, right? So I could do a VMDK level restore, send it to another host. I could do a full VM restore, send it to another location or another host, and a file level restore, same thing. Questions? And the next thing would be Hyper-V. I'm not going to go into it, but it's pretty much identical to this, right? It's guest level, it's full VM backup, agentless, and then recovery options are the same thing. DR. All right, so let's go into DR. I mentioned the DR portion, right? This is the ability for us to take a VM backup, convert it, export it then convert it into an AMI. So what you do is you create what we call a DR policy. And so there's a couple of settings you can put in here. You can create a failover test. So you could use some sort of isolated settings in your VPC. These are being pulled from the VPC. And then you can do like kind of a production setting. And then what you can do, so the instance that you actually do it, you can do it immediately after backup. So backup occurs, immediately do it, or you can do it on a daily or weekly basis.
Can I orchestrate say I'm failing over 5 VMs in an app?
Yeah. There are two kind of recoveries, right? One is the site level recovery. You want to orchestrate the entire site and application by application. Second is one app recovery or cloud recovery. So there are two ways to do it. One, you could orchestrate entire DR. Second, you could leverage how they've built AWS through VPC security groups. And even if you orchestrate one app, the app will have still full connections into the data center.
I mean, more like where I mean, this looks really neat, but where the complexity and the differentiator gets in terms of that orchestration of I've got 100 VMs and it costs 20 apps, and I need to make sure my domain controller, well, you wouldn't be anyway, but I need to make sure these 5 things come up first, and I wait for a certain heartbeat or timeout or whatever.
So we use AWS VPCs, which means that the apps in the cloud will have full connectivity into apps in data center.
But if that app is just entirely encapsulated, I want to fail it over.
Yes.
Then
site fails, then we don't do that today.
Okay.
But if one by one app, it's built today for just putting one app in the cloud to maintain its entire connectivity to the data center apps. The site level recovery is where you want the scheduling between apps and dependency between apps. We haven't done that.
But if I wanted to test in isolation an entire app to fail that over, then I might want to say that the database server comes up first, then my app server, and then 5 minutes later my web server comes up. So it's online, and I want to do all of that in the cloud. And at the moment, you don't have that kind of.
Yes, we don't have the orchestration piece, but you could do it one at a time. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you go in and restart some services and stuff like that. But yeah, okay.
So from a failover, so to actually fail over, what we would do here is you'd click failover, and then you can choose if you want to do test or recovery. So if I just do test, these are so any of the VMs that are part of that DR policy would show up in here. So in this case, I'm just using one. But again, if you had 4 that were part of it and you wanted to do, you'd manually be able to launch each one, right? Instead of doing them all at the same time, or you could do them all at the same time. But I hit launch. If I go into here, assuming I'm not logged out yet, this is my EC2 console. You should see this puppy. Yeah, and there, so it's booting up now. So it's converting it.
What happens if I actually have a site failure and I fail that over and bring it up into AWS, and then my site recovers, power outage or whatever, and I want to get that back again?
Yeah. So
how do I sync the data and fail that back?
So we can't, right?
So yeah, I can. So typically the way we do it, again, we are building to scale, but typically how our customers deal with it is there is an AMI export option. So it's not super time critical in that case. So it's a planned activity, and it's just an export option that gets downloaded back to the data center and then brought back to the
Do you
native
orchestrate
environment.
that at all, or do I have to manage that? Because that's
So today we do.
VM's fine, but that's quite a convoluted process.
No, absolutely. It's a big ask. And today we don't orchestrate, but something that we're building towards.
So the reason I ask is my organization, when we've done tests in the past, we've actually failed over production. We run production and then we fail it back again. So these sort of solutions where you can go one way, but coming back, that just wouldn't be an option.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we're not positioning it like that, right? I mean, we're positioning it for like a remote office, right? I mean, if the system's going out the remote office, they can fail over to the cloud and then they can get the data back. It wouldn't be like tier 1 applications or anything like that right now, right?
No, it's just because you could almost fail it over. You're bringing it up. You've got the AMI. You could have your agent in there or snapshots, putting it back in.
Correct.
Yep. So if it was a SQL
because
box,
you're touching all of it,
start back, exactly.
and then rehydrate and push it back again.
Absolutely.
That would be quite cool.
Yep.